Hello and welcome. My name is Brenda and my channel is Handwork Maniac, and I think I need to make a few videos to get caught up. I am officially retired. I've been to StitchCon, now I'm home. I've recovered for a few days. Today is Friday, June 21st. So I'm going to first do a video about the report of what happened during Mania in May, and then right after that I'll reset and do another video that gets everything else caught up from then until now, including StitchCon. All right, Mania, I explained in my last video, was what I worked on in May, the fun activity I did in May. Here's my board where I added all of the new things and slots where I had new things. You can go, if you have questions, you can go back and watch the last video. And let's look at each one. And I'll show you it was either a whip, how much progress I got on it, or it was a new start. So May 1st. Was Primavera in Citta, Spring in the City, by Crocette gogo. And I was able to finish this square and start down here on the bottom section. That was so exciting. This is 46 count natural linen with the called for DMC. So cute. May 2nd is R-Kade by Long Dog Samplers. Mine is on 40 count Picture This Plus Conifer with Silks For You silks. She's a silk dyer in Australia, and the color is PR114. The main color is PR114. I do have a secondary color in there, a light, kind of just a neutral, really light creamy greeny. A cream with a slight green cast. But I don't know the number of that one. It was also a Silks For You. And I got quite a bit done. I finished over to here on this band and worked some down here, I believe. I am on the middle. There are 5 trees. I'm on the middle tree. So I have a little ways to go. But it is such a fun one to work on. Worked on that squirrel, that crown. Then on May 3rd, I worked on Marquoir Mystery by Isabelle Haccourt Vatier. I did my own conversion into blues. It's on 46 count antique white linen with Glorianna in the Navy, and Dinky Dyes Pacific Blue. And I was able to complete these birdhouses and this F, the letter F square. Then on May 4th, I worked on Patchwork Sampler by Jan Houtman. I have picked my own colors for this one as well. I kind of just went through all of my silk leftovers and picked all the purples, blues, and greens. And I'm doing, I started out with the purples, and then I'll kind of move into some blues and then some greens. But I was able to do this whole section right here. May 5th was Faery Square by Carolyn Manning. Here's the model photo. I did a little bit of a color conversion and changed it to these colors. Which way is up? This way. Oh, got a ton done on this one. Finished that whole bottom side. Well, okay, almost. I'm on this last little house right here. Patchwork Sampler was also 46 count antique white linen. This one is 46 count frost by BeStitchMe with my conversion of DMC. May 6th is the Stitching Shelf by Heaven and Earth, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. The artwork is by Aimee Stewart. It will look like this when it is finished. I am working down this side right here. I'm down to about here. Quite another row of 8 squares down there in the fan. That was fun. And up in the upper green. And then on May 7th, those were all whips from previous years that hadn't been finished yet, that were started on those days every year in May. On May 7th, I had a blank spot because I had finished what was on that spot from the year before. So I started Seacoast Tiny Town, and I finished it. I think I did about half of it on that day, and then I worked on it on a couple of other days and finished it. Mine is on 46 count natural linen with the called for colors, except for a couple that I didn't have, and I substituted out of floss that I already owned. I love this one. It's so cute. So my first Mania finish from 2024. Then on May 8th is another old whip. Churchyard Christmas by Praiseworthy Stitches. Sorry, I've got to get it off the Q-snaps because it's getting so big. Let's see if we can show the right side of it this time. I worked on these words and some more white down here, and I finished a lot more of the, added some kids that I didn't have over here and down here and over here, I think. It's on 32, the called for fabric, which is 32 count, Picture This Plus Mirage, with the called for threads. 2 strands of floss over 2 fabric threads. On all those previous ones that were 46 count, that would be 1 strand of floss over 2 fabric threads. But this one is 2 over 2 on 32 count. May 9th is Sleeping Princess by Mirabilia. Also an old whip. I think this was, yep, started in Mania. It was started on May 9th of 2019. She's also getting very large. I worked on those bottom mattresses down there and made it down to the floor. Was so excited to see that. The colors on this one are just, oh, stunning. This is 32 count water lily linen. Not the called for linen. With the called for DMC. And I haven't put any beads on yet. May 10th was a new start because I had finished what was on May 10th from the year before. It is a little pattern that goes on the top of a Whitman sampler tin. I used to belong to the Swan Sampler Guild in Salt Lake City, which has now disbanded. But many years ago, Ellen Chester of With My Needle designed a little sampler that would fit on the top of a Whitman tin. Oh my gosh, I can't show the front. That said Swan Sampler Stitchers on it. It was very nice of her. Looks like she did that in 2001, so quite a while ago. And I have always wanted to stitch it. Ellen Chester is a fabulous designer, lives in Cincinnati. This is over 1, so 1/1 full cross on 32 count, and I don't know what linen this is. It kind of looks like French lace. It's the lightest green tint to it, but it's so tiny, and I got quite a bit of it done. I had started this during Mania 2 years ago and put it away because I wasn't happy with the colors, how they were turning out. And then I got it out this year and decided I was going to finish it in Mania, start it again, restart it for Mania, and pulled it out and thought, I love these colors. What was wrong with these colors? So I just continued on. Now I need to do, there's a really long strip of this border that goes around either the outside or the inside of the tin, whichever, probably the inside of the tin is where I'm going to put it. And I had a viewer say that they stitched this and put it on the top of the inside of the tin instead of on the top. You could put it on the top of the tin right here, but they put it on the inside of the lid right here. So I haven't decided yet what I want to do. The colors are just not the called for colors. I just pulled them out of my, they are all silks, I believe, that I pulled out of my threads I already own. And then on May 11th was another new start. I started this Mill Hill Buttons and Beads Summer Fruit. I love all of those fruits. It looks so good. And I got quite a ways on this one too. Some watermelon in the top of a pineapple. It's on perforated paper that came with the kit, and I'm using the kit floss. And I believe it is, the directions say to use, I'm doing whatever the directions said. I can't remember if it's 2 strands or 3 strands, but whatever it said, that's what I'm doing. I can't tell looking at this thread that I have on here. The one that's on my needle is only 2 strands. May 12th was also a new start because I had finished what was on that day the year before. And I started another one of these ornaments, Dimensions Gold Collection Christmas Village ornaments. I stitched the bakery last year, and this year I'm going to do the church. This one. So I started the church. I didn't use the kit Ada that came with it. I'm using just the same count of fabric in a cream colored linen. It comes with 18 count ivory Ada. So I just chose 36 count linen in a ivory-ish creamy color. And I got quite a bit done on that one as well. Let's see if we can move the thread. There we go. right, May 13th is Serenity Harbor, which is an old whip. By the Bay Needle Arts, Serenity Harbor. On 40 count Lakeside Vintage Lentil Linen. 1 strand of floss over 2 fabric threads. This is another one that's going to have to come off the Q-snaps. I'm using the called for DMC, except for wherever there's big patches of solid color, like all those grassy areas and the water. I switched out for an overdyed, either an overdyed cotton or an overdyed silk. I love working on this one. Every time I pull it out, I love working on it. The water is done in an overdyed Dinky Dyes called Gum Leaves. I just did it in little puddly shapes. I got that idea off of she has a Facebook group, because this was originally a stitch along, and so they started a couple of Facebook groups to go with the stitch along, and the stitcher in that Facebook group had stitched it that way. So when I very first started it and was looking through all the posts on the Facebook group, I saw that. I wish I had written down the name of the stitcher that stitched it that way. Thank you for the idea. It was fabulous. And I worked down there at the bottom on those little trees and that grass. Oh, itchy, runny nose. Oh. Okay. May 14th was also a new start. And it is The Thankful Bag by Shepherd's Bush. This was a gift from a friend. I got A, an N, and part of a pumpkin. You stitch it right on these It's So Emma bags. Yes, It's So Emma. That one is so fun. May 15th is Stitching Summer, which was a whip that I started last year but hadn't finished yet. Stitching Summer by Twin Peak Primitives. And it is on 46 count Flawn by BeStitchMe. I would love to finish this summer. I've been working on this 30 minutes every day. Lots of fill-in. Lots of blocks of solid color, which what makes it so beautiful. And it was fabulous stitching on the plane and at the retreat, because I just started a thread in all these areas that needed to be filled in and kind of parked them out of the way, and then sat there on the plane and just did fill-in. May 16th was a new start. And it is part of my Toy Box Etui set. It's the paint box. It's the last toy from my Toy Box Etui. I showed that in my last video. So I had, it came as a kit. So I had the fabric, which is 32 count prairie grain linen, which is what it came with. And this is how far I got. It came kitted with Glorianna silks. All right. The bin is not behaving. May 17th was also a new start. It was Blackberry Lane Designs, keeping watch ornament. I showed you in my last video that I had done the other two in this series of 3. They're kind of like mini Heaven and Earth designs. Very confetti heavy, lots of colors. That's the list of DMC floss. Just like a Heaven and Earth design, only they're tiny. Mine is on 25 count potato even weave, 1/1, full cross. And I got the top part of his staff and some of the sky done. May 18th was an old whip that I started last year and hadn't finished yet. Home is Where My Stitching Is by the Primitive Hair. Mine is on 36 count agave linen with my own conversion of Sulky 12 weight cotton floss. Sulky is the brand. 1 strand of Sulky over 2 fabric threads. And I finished several windows. These are my, oh, and Floche, I forgot. The white is DMC Floche, Floche. And then the other 3 colors are Sulky 12 weight cotton. May 19th is also a whip that I started last year. Did not finish yet. Whip is Works in Progress, WIP. It is Black Vintage Sampler by Al Forrest Embroidery. Mine is on 20 count opalescent Aida, and I'm using black 12 weight Sulky cotton. So 1 strand of Sulky over 1 Aida square. I finished the top border, got over to here, did the balloon. Beautiful piece. May 20th was a new start. A Mill Hill kit, part of the Nativity trilogy, Baby Jesus. Finished the baby and started on the cow. May 21st as an old whip that I started in 2021. It is the Faery Square alphabet series. I'm going to do the whole alphabet on one piece of fabric. They're not all exactly the same size, so I'm having to make them the same size. And I'm combining two of the letters. I'll have to kind of rechart and combine two letters together twice. I'm combining G and H and V and W, so it will fit in this layout. Mine is on 28 count cream linen. And the piece that I cut to do this, and I'm doing it 1/1 on the 28 count linen. My piece of fabric is 22 inches by 22 inches. And that's big enough I get a lot of questions on how big my fabric is. Just know that you have to make them all 70 by 100. And I'm stitching 1/1 on 28 count for that size to be big enough. And I'm combining 4 letters into 2. I worked on this drum over here. Almost finished with the drum. I did change the red to 918. It called for a much darker red, but I couldn't tell the difference between the red and the black when they were next to each other. So 918 is used a little bit later in the blocks, some of the blocks. So I switched to that. Okay. 22nd was a new start. And 2 years ago, I did the front side of Peppermint Candy Ornament by Blackberry Lane Designs, part of the Gingerbread Valley series. She has charted them all to have a front side and a back side. You can see the front of the elf and the back of the elf and his ladder. This is the front door of the house, this is the back door. So I stitched the front 2 years ago. So I started the back, and it is on the called for fabric, this is the front that I stitched 2 years ago. 32 count gingerbread by Picture This Plus. And this is how much I got done on the back. May 23rd was a new start. And I decided to start this Dimensions kit called Village Canal. I'm using the kit floss, but I'm not using the kit fabric. I'm using 32 count Blue Dreams by Fabric Flare. I think this way is up. And that's what I have so far, part of that middle building that's such pretty terracotta color. And some windows. And then on May 24th, which was the last day, was another new start. And I started Sweet Summertime by Counting Puddles. Using the called for DMC. Oh goodness. On 32 count white even weave. And I've worked on this a couple times since. All right, that is the end of the Mania report. And now I will reset and do a catch-up video of everything that's happened since my last video that was not part of Mania.